Lori, do you just like Lori Akers? Or do you have a middle name or do you care?
No, Lori Acres. That's it.
Perfect. And where
Yes.
are you again? What's part of Chicago or
So I'm in the northwest suburbs. It's called Deerfield.
okay, hold on. Deerfield? And the name of the congregation again?
I'm a congregation or shalom
Congregation
or shalom.
or Shalom.
Uh-huh.
Okay, fantastic. Got it. Okay,
Okay.
so shalom everyone. Hi, this is Hazzan Daniel Friedman, and you are listening to Exploring Jewish Music with Hazzan Daniel Friedman. My kids like to call it a cantor cast. I have with me tonight a very dear friend of mine, an incredibly talented woman, beautiful woman, heart and soul, who is a cantorial soloist over at the congregation or Shalom in Deerfield, the northwest part of Chicago. So please welcome tonight, Lori Akers. So hi, Lori.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me here tonight.
Thanks for coming out and joining us for this little podcast, or we
Yeah.
call it a cantor cast. So we're going to dive right in here. For those of you who don't know Lori, she's an amazingly talented writer, does Jewish music, secular music, and we're going to get into that definition a little bit later on, like what is Jewish music, especially because Lori has a vast background in performing. And let's get to know her a little bit. So Lori, who are you? Where do you come from?
Oh, it's an easy question.
I know, right?
Short
Really easy
answer.
question.
So yes, no. So again, thanks for having me here tonight. It's just a
Sure, of
pleasure to
course.
join you.
Yeah.
So I'm from Chicago originally, and my background was in musical theater. So I have a degree in musical theater
From
from
where?
University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And then I moved to New York for 8 years following college. And I did a number of productions in New York and then toured, and musical theater was really my world. And then about 9 years ago, I moved back to Chicago to be closer to my family. Um, and that's really when I made this shift into the world of Jewish music. It's when I decided that I wanted to pursue the cantorial path, which is what I'm doing now. And so I really made a real shift about 9 years ago.
Now you're being really modest. So you
Yes.
did Broadway, you were in New York and
Yes.
you apparently you did some shows, right? So
I
you were
did.
working.
Yes.
So can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that? I mean, obviously
Yes.
you're trained, you did some training. You went to
Yes.
school for theater or for musical theater.
Yes. I went for musical theater. So my
Great.
degree was in musical theater.
Right. And
Voice was
did
usually.
you always play music growing up? Did you grow up in a musical family?
So my mom was a music teacher. She was an elementary school music
Oh,
teacher,
fantastic.
and she's a beautiful voice. And so she was always in the choir in the shul and in the community. And so I did always used to watch my mom. And she had this really beautiful voice. It was never something she wanted to pursue professionally, but she really loved being a teacher. And so that's certainly something that I witnessed throughout my entire childhood. And then I started playing piano when I was young,
There you
when I was
go.
started around 6. And and it's funny, even though I studied classically and then studied jazz as well, I always loved noodling by myself. That's something that I did for, just really early on, I loved playing around on the keys.
So just playing around and creating melodies and putting some lyrics to things and words and just
Yes.
having some
Yeah,
fun. And then so obviously, and you play guitar also, correct?
I do.
So
Yes.
would you say that there was a lot of music in your family going as you're growing up, singing and everybody kind of just sang? And were you involved in a synagogue at all at that time or no?
Yes. So yes, my family, we were definitely musical. My father is not musical, but he's so supportive. So it's like if you didn't have it in you, you had it like in you, he was
Right.
very supportive. And when I did
And
the community theater, my mom and I would do the community theater. We were very active in the area. And but then my dad would be a stagehand, It
oh,
was like
great.
that kind of a family where we were
Right.
all really involved. And so And yes, in my shul, we did. It was actually one of the first musicals that I ever did was Joseph,
Oh, there you
and
go.
at my
Okay, I can
shul.
identify with that. Sure.
Yeah, so I did, and I sang in the choir, um, and I was really active. When I was 11, I started working at the Lyric Opera of Chicago in their choir, um, and so I was really involved in that kind of like choir world everywhere as a child.
And did you love to go to the theater and see musicals? And what inspired you to go follow this as a career
I loved
before,
it.
and you just fell in love with acting and singing and wanted to go
Yeah.
to school for it? Or
Let me tell you, I can tell you
yeah,
the moment when I knew.
here,
So
here, now this is the toss of the guys. This is the
yeah,
meat right here.
no, but
The
it's such
moment
a
it happened.
no, 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 but it's such no, really, it's turned out being this beautiful story. So when I was 8 years old, I saw Peter Pan. It was a community theater production. And I remember watching this. It was a girl playing Peter Pan, and she was fabulous. She had this really distinct voice, and she could belt just like in the stratosphere. And I remember looking at her and thinking, like, well, one, I want to fly. I want to fly. And two, I was like, I want to be Peter Pan. Like, I have to be this person. Now, I
Wow.
never met her, but I always had her in my head that I always go back to this moment where I just remember this Peter Pan moment. And then just a few years ago, I was taking one of my kids to a dance class in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And I'm standing there watching him in his dance class. And I hear this voice behind me. And it's this very hoarse, kind of like very distinct voice. And I swear, I turned around and I said, "Is your name Emmy Bloom?" Of course, I knew her name. I said, "Is your name Emmy Bloom by chance?" She said, I am. I said, "Did you play Peter Pan in a community
Oh
theater like
my.
a million years ago?" And she said, "How do you possibly know this?" I said, "I can't even tell you. I've been waiting my entire life to meet you. And I remember your voice so clearly. And I cannot believe I'm meeting you right now. And I had this moment, and I've kept in touch with her.
Wow.
I know I met Peter Pan. Who knew? So, but really, it was that moment where it was just something about it was the first musical that I saw, and just the lights and this like powerhouse of a woman on the
Yeah.
stage, and I just fell in love with it. And so yeah, I never turned back. I mean, like that was it.
That's beautiful. That's a
That was
that
it.
is a beautiful, beautiful story. Isn't it
Right?
amazing how that kind of, I mean,
I
if you
know.
don't believe in the synchronicity of the universe,
Oh my
that's a kind of
gosh.
story that absolutely kind of gives you faith that things happen for reasons. You never
Totally.
know why. And here, I
Right.
don't know what this woman's life was about, but there
Yeah.
you are. To me, it's like, what a gift you just gave to her. How
Totally.
this woman who you never met just inspired you, and you
Yeah.
were able to tell her to her face. We rarely get that chance. That
Right.
is
Well,
fantastic.
and it's funny, I think about it now a lot in my work, especially in my show, is, you never know how much you're going to impact someone. It could be those moments that you think are so trivial and like so minute in your life. And then, boom, it's like here, years and years later, it's like I'm telling this random person about this inspiration. I've thought about that a lot in my own work, to not take
Sure.
any of those moments for granted.
Sure. Well,
So
that's
interesting.
great. So we're going to get to that in a second because I
Yeah,
do
yeah, of
want to
course.
talk. No, I want to talk to you about your show work and I want to talk to you about
Yes,
Jewish music and such. But
of
I
course.
know that you prepared a song that you can share with us now. It was at Yehi
You hear the redstone.
Yehi. Okay, great.
Hmm.
And so everybody, we're gonna share her Lori's screen for a second,
Okay.
and we're gonna see something that she wrote, and a video. And who's in it with you?
So this is Hadar or Shalimi, who is a
Perfect.
brilliant songwriter out of Manhattan.
Okay.
Um, and we have not actually even released this yet. So
Oh,
this is like you're
fantastic.
actually kind of the first to see this. Um, so I hope you'll not let me know about the sound.
Yep,
Okay.
coming through nice.
May the words of my mouth be acceptable to you. May the path I create, may the actions I take be in line with your divine glory.
Wow.
Uh,
And
trying,
you haven't put this out yet?
we have not put that out. I'm trying to get back to you here. Oh, there we go. Stop the share. Oh, I did it. So, yes, no, it was originally written as just a solo piece, and then Hadar, she had reached out a couple of weeks ago and said, "I'd really love to do this as a duet.
Right.
Consider, can I do this recording with you?" So we just worked on it together.
I think I know Hadar. I think she's married to Sheldon
He
Lowe.
is married to Sheldon Lowe.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah,
Yes, I've
yeah,
met her.
she's
Yeah,
Israeli. Um,
wonderful.
yes, and
So what are you doing with this stuff? What are you doing with this video? Do you put it up on your website? Are you using it in your synagogue? How are
you
you
know,
actualizing this stuff? You're putting CDs together, things like that?
yeah. So it depends. There's so many outlets right now for things. And
Right.
especially with just the world right now, there's just needs in so many different areas. So for this is something that it was a song that had resonated for her, and she works at Temple Emmanuel in Manhattan, and it's something that she wanted to put out to Emmanuel, and so it will go out through them first. But then some of these other collaborative projects, I've been a part of, several just really wonderful projects in the last few months. And I think some of it is just to keep us singing, to keep us going. And even though I know so many of us would much prefer to be in person together and hear those harmonies and feel people resonating around us, I think a lot of the purpose of this is just to show that that sentiment is still there, the intention is still there, that we all want to be together and sing and collaborate. And so there's been a lot of it
So let me
lately.
ask you a question.
Mhm.
This is kind of what I've been focusing on a little bit
Sure.
in these sessions. Is you obviously you grew up Jewish, you grew up in a Jewish house. It resonated with you where you actually made a shift in your career choice.
Mhm.
Do you recall when that shift happened, where you knew that this is kind of what you wanted to do? Um,
Yeah.
and is there another story kind of that's like you had another aha moment to explore this part of your soul?
Yes.
Can you share
Yes.
that with us?
I will definitely share, and I'll try and give the elevator version of it, but it's hard to do that.
Right.
So yeah, so I was living in New York, and I was in the musical theater world there, and working and having a very nice career. And then my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I'll just to fast forward, my mom is now in remission. So my mom is here and with us.
Good.
I just want to get there so you're not wondering the entire time what's going on. She's at the time, she was really not doing very well. And so I flew back and forth to Chicago many, many times. And it just planted a seed that I really wanted to be home. I needed to be near my parents. So I ended up moving. That's when I made that shift to move back to Chicago, to be near my parents. And I met my husband just a few weeks after I moved here. And it was when I met my husband that he brought me to a shul downtown in Chicago. And I had so much going on at that time between, my mom being ill, and I just left this, career that I had in New York.
Yeah.
As a side note, I'd also left a relationship, and just months before I left. And I just had a lot going on, as we all do a lot of the time. And so I was all over the place. It had been a while since I had really like regularly attended shul, I admit. And when I walked in to this, I walked into this temple that night, and I'll tell you, it wasn't that it was just that night. There was an actual moment. Um, I was, lost, and then it was during the moment of Yehi Ratzon,
Wow.
which is why I wrote this piece.
Wow.
The rabbi had said, it's when the rabbi says, now this, take some time for personal prayer, look on the pages. If there's nothing on the pages, find, this is time for prayer in your heart. Use the, prayers in your heart. And as I started kind of praying and just, but a lot of it was kind of that, like, why me, why her, why this? It was kind of that kind of, and I
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
like, is this prayer? Like, I don't even know, like, I
It's all
felt bad in
prayer.
that moment. And then the cantor sang Marshall Portnoy's version, setting of Yehi Ratzon.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
Yehi Ratzon Imrefi. And and then when she's saying, may the
Yeah.
meditations of my heart, may this all be acceptable to you. And I just was like, oh my God. I mean, it was that moment where I was like, yes, like, may this be acceptable to you. Like, this is all prayer, like all this mess,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
so after that, I really craved being there. It was like really where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So from that moment, I never looked back into my theater life, as beautiful as a journey as that was to me. I never looked back. And that's when I started journeying
So
towards where I am.
obviously it was through music again. So a
Oh,
prayer, a melody hit you and touched your heart
yeah.
and elevated you to have some sort of dialogue with this God that we're all trying to figure out. So
Hmm.
that's what really kind of interests me,
Yeah.
is like when we talk about this Jewish music, you talk about all this kinds of different kinds of Jewish music. So let me ask you, what in your view, like what makes music Jewish? What is it? Is it liturgical? Is
Mhm.
it the person's soul, that they're a Jewish person and they write something that's Jewish and maybe secular? Um, have you ever thought about that? And if you haven't, you're going to think about it now.
Yeah. It's something that I've thought about. I feel like, every class that I teach at my school, like adult education, if, anything that's musical based, there's always this conversation first about, well, what is Jewish music? We're talking about this element and this facet, and what is it though? So I've definitely engaged in that conversation. And, as you've probably experienced too, it's an elusive thing. It's like, I find it to be very complicated and multifaceted. I know what it means to me. Because like, as reflective of the story that I just told you, for me, it is a matter of the connection of what for me brings out that text, what elevates that text. So for me, that's something that's really important. I know that, yes, I've talked about this a lot. Like, is it the Jewish composer that is that
Right,
what makes it Jewish?
right.
Is it writing in a certain mode? Like, is that what makes it Jewish? Um, you know, and I think it all counts. Absolutely. I think that just as Jewish music has been, or his music has been kind of an accumulation of like the Jewish journey, in the last 3,000 years. I think it has changed, so
Yeah,
so
certainly.
really I think it's, if I have to put it in, I know I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it's a matter of, preservation of certain elements and then evolving Jewishly and being able to add those layers onto it. For me, that's kind of what Jewish music is. That
So
it's not,
traditional, like, so if I were to try to maybe impose for a second,
please.
what I'm hearing is like, I kind of look at some things that you're saying is that there's a musical mode when you look at cantorial music,
Hmm.
where you look at liturgical music that has evolved over time based upon what how you grew up.
Hmm.
Were you Ashkenazic, were you Sephardic, and you had certain melodies that are innate in your ear and
Hmm.
in your soul that we're used
Right.
to hearing, like
Right.
Fragish. It has
Uh-huh.
that kind of minor mode
Right.
that's yearning for more, but
Hmm.
it's not
Hmm.
over time. It certainly has evolved with
Hmm.
artists like yourself. And right now, we're in a really amazing era of composers like yourself and others that are much more popularly driven and accepted, and crossing over, even like people like Matisyahu, or Leonard Cohen
Hmm.
writes on Jewish themes, you know, uh, and others, and certainly Israeli musicians now,
Hmm.
their pop singers are taking psalms and tehillim and turning them into pop songs,
Yeah.
and they're obviously Jewish, but it's moving, it's evolving, it's constantly evolving.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you're in, do you think it matters if you're in, say, a Reform congregation, conservative synagogue, where the melodies that we're hearing now are just about elevating the soul, and that's what makes it more kind of Jewish in a way?
I mean, I think it's different across all different denominations and congregations. I mean, as you know, I mean, there are some congregations who, some of this more popular music, they would say like, that's not Jewish. I don't know what
Right,
we call that, but that's like pop music using
right,
like the liturgy, but that's not Jewish, you know? And I see that and I understand and I'm sensitive to it. Like I have to tell you, so I'm in the cantorial program through the Cantor's Assembly. And now that I've really been studying Nusach,
Sure.
I've been
Right.
challenging myself to write a Nusach. And really, I've grown. Not that I ever lost respect for it, but I've gained respect for that too. About kind of more of the preservation, and I want to be one of those more contemporary artists who kind of does both. And I'll do it with certain, like if I'm commissioned, let's say, for a certain, if there's a
Sure.
specific piece of
Right.
liturgy, and I'm commissioned to do something, I will absolutely write, in a proper, if they want it in this mode and that, like, I'll work with that. And I work a lot with teens who they just want to connect. I mean, these are kids who, don't want to say, well, I'm a Reformed Jew, I'm a conservative Jew, I'm an Orthodox Jew. Like they just want to be themselves.
Right.
They are their own religion.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if we're looking to connect them, Jewishly, I want to help in that effort to just find connection. So, I think there's a lot of artists who are doing that too, about saying like this counts as Judaism, everybody. Like even if you don't, if you're not connecting to just solely listening to the Nusach in a certain service,
Right.
don't feel like you're not Jewish. Like people in the Reform movement often will say, "Oh, well, I'm very Reform," you know.
Yeah. And I don't know what that means either.
And I always say to them, like, there's no such thing as being very reform. You can be, a very, observant, very passionate Jewish person, in a reformed congregation. But kids run into that too, where it's, is this really Judaism because I'm singing along with, Dan Nichols and Josh Nelson and other, and what kind of Judaism that? But you know what? These are the kids who are going to grow up and they'll, possibly be like me, where I lost it for a little while in there. Now I'm going back and really understanding more of the
Mhm.
tradition musically also. I kind of went the other route where I needed to hear
Yeah.
it in my own language.
Yeah.
And now I'm going back. And so I think it's important to have both, you know?
And when you say both, you mean
Um,
what
just
do you mean by
preserving,
both?
preserving, like what you said, when you can hear
A melody, a
that
tune.
Fragish mode, and you
Uh-huh.
just not everybody knows that like term, like what that really means, like what that scale would mean,
Right.
but they could hear, oh, I must be in a synagogue, like that's a Jewish sound,
And it touches their heart. Yeah.
so they feel that. Yet,
Hmm.
a lot of the contemporary music, I don't think a lot of the artists are coming from that perspective and are really paying attention to like a certain mode anywhere. It's just, I like this music set to this text, and to me, this elevates it. But I think that counts too. I'm not going to say that's not Jewish. Some
Yeah.
people might.
It's interesting because there's a gentleman that I'm going to be having on in a couple of weeks, Yotam Ben Horin, and Yotam is a Jewish guy, Israeli guy, but is from Canada, but been in the United States for many, many years. You'd look at him and he looks like a normal musician, he's a guitar player, but he
Mhm.
grew up in the grunge world and punk rock,
Hmm.
and he created this beautiful song about his grandfather's experience in the Holocaust. And then I met him and I went, but that's not your music. Your music is like like banger music, right? So I challenged him to take like the liturgy, like Shalom Aleichem, and put it to his sensibility.
Hmm.
Now, if I were to play this for you, you might not think it's Jewish music,
Right, right, right.
but it's a Jewish guy who grew up Israeli,
Hmm.
who has a soul that's Jewish. The music that resonates with him
Hmm.
is something that's very different. So it's fascinating to me. Like your music, here's the difference. Like your music to me, you take these lyrics and they soar off the page. They really do. That's the thing that I think really resonates, and especially with the things that you're writing, and the experience that you come from a musical background.
Mhm.
I just want to let you know how impactful it really is to people. So I
Mhm.
thank you for that very, very much. And
Yeah.
so I want to ask you, so what's next? What are you doing? What's Lori doing? You've got your CDs, you've got your videos that you're putting out.
Mhm.
Um, You've got your things that you're doing at your synagogue. Is there anything coming up that we can go and see more of you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I have there is the High Holy Day anthology is coming out from Transcontinental Music
Sure.
Publications,
Right.
and it's the first one that's coming out in the next. I think it's supposed to come out in July, and so I wrote a Shema Kolenu that was published by Transcon, and so that will be kind of my next kind of composition that's out there, along with a video. I'm also working with two cantors, Cantor Rachel Goldman in Los Angeles
Oh
and
yeah,
Cantor
sure.
Rachel Brooke out of New York. And right before this virus had really caused this shift in our world, we had formed this group called Shul Sisters. And we had been rehearsing for about a year, and we have this just incredible, like this really beautiful repertoire and really diverse repertoire, and some beautiful messages to put out there. And we were supposed to open at Park Avenue Synagogue in the fall, when
Oh
really a lot of this was
wow.
happening. So that is kind of our next project. Like we're still working on that, and kind of seeing what direction we can go if we can't really do live performances yet. So Shul Sisters is like a real passion project for me. In addition, the three of us are working with an incredible trio, this African American trio out of Manhattan. And around July 4th, the six of us are going to be releasing a video
Fantastic.
of a spiritual piece.
Where can we
Um,
see that? Where are you
so
releasing it
I'm
to?
not sure yet. You can see it
Okay.
probably on my Facebook page. All of our Facebook pages will be releasing it everywhere. It's going to be there. The Manhattan team is producing it. So it will come out from them, but I will send it to you.
Please.
And
Yeah, we'll let everybody
and
know out here. We'd love to see that on July
it's
4th weekend.
yeah, July 4th
What's the
weekend. That's
name
the
of the
plan.
piece?
So we're doing I Will Walk It With You. Do you know that
Okay.
piece? I
Shh.
will walk it with
Yeah, it's
you.
a spiritual.
It's so spiritual.
Yeah.
And so we're literally starting to record it in the next couple days. We just got the, tracks today actually. And so I'm really excited about that.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
we're just about ending time, and
Great.
I wanted to thank you, but also for those of you who now met Lori, maybe for the first time, but if she's probably pretty familiar to our little community out here. She wrote the final piece of our con that we put on our Jubilee virtual benefit concert called Stand Strong. Fantastic piece with Chava Morel and Abby Strauss. And I kind of edited myself into another version, and I thank you for letting me do that.
So
But it was a
great.
lot of fun, and I think that piece is also, if you mentioned, is going to be at the you are
Oh,
what it's going to be
I,
premiering in a choral piece, right?
I can't believe I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
Yes,
So tell
I
us
should,
about that, because we're going to play to end this up. We're going to play the Stand Strong video that we created,
yes.
but I know there's more going on with that too, right?
Yes. So Stand Strong, it was written as a trio, but it is now Cantor Jonathan Commissar arranged it into a beautiful SATB choral piece. So the Reform Cantors Union, the ACC, is using that choral piece as their virtual choir piece, which will
Beautiful.
also be released. I don't have an exact date, but July, early July. I think there's 90 something cantors that will be singing on it. And I know they've been working really, really hard, and I haven't seen any of it yet.
Wow.
But it was a real honor to just have my piece being shared in that way. So
Yeah.
I'll send that to you too whenever it comes out.
Yeah, please let us know when it's going on. So you want to cue up Stand Strong now so we can kind of
Yeah. So
see
let's
the version
see.
that we made. And
Let's
how did
see
you
if
meet Chava and Abby while you're doing that?
let me see. Oh, I hope I can get this up. Um, how did I let me oh, I hope I can get
There
this.
you go.
Oh, okay. Stand strong. So,
Just as an intro, you're going to see Chava Morel and Abby
yes.
Strauss.
Yeah, so
And
on here we have
obviously,
Colleen Deeker and Jay
right.
Rappaport, who are fabulous musicians and dear friends. And
Uh-huh.
then Hava Morel out of Seattle, Abby Strauss, who's now in Florida, a group of such fantastic musicians. We all met through pretty much like the Hava Nashira and Song Leader
Sure.
Boot Camp kind of world. We all just love to jam together, and we all support each other in their music. I don't know how to make this much bigger. Can I just?
Once you start playing it, you
You
should
think it'll
go,
leave?
it should
Oh,
just go
oh,
and then just make your screen bigger.
oh, got it.
So down at the
Got it.
bottom there. Perfect. I'm going to get us out of here. We're not alone. 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 We are not alone. Beautiful, Lori. Coming back to you in a second here.
Oh.
Ooh,
Oh,
you did it right before the ending.
right at the end.
We
All
are
right.
not
No, I'll
alone.
finish it. I don't know what happened.
That was.
But you know what? It
We
stopped.
are
You
not.
know
We are
what?
not alone. We are not alone. Just love it. It stopped. Okay, well, let's get back. Bring us back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the
Very.
video that was sent. Okay.
Wow.
You get a
Well,
taste.
well, what a great honor to have you here with us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Saw your son a little bit earlier, so thank your children for letting us have a little bit of mommy time, with you.
Yes. No, thank you for the excuse to have my husband put the kids to bed tonight. We should do this every week, every
Okay,
night, every
you got
night.
it, sure.
Yes,
And then have a
perfect.
nice glass of wine, right?
Done.
Right. So it's, this idea came because we're all kind of stuck at home, and it's a great outlet for us to reach out, across the screen and meet people from all over the country, all over the world, really. And that's kind of been the goal of this little series here. So I really appreciate you, taking the time. It's about 2 hours later for where you are to come and join us and share your music and share who you are and let us get to know, Laurie Akers a little bit more. So we really appreciate that. And I look forward to one day being able to be in each other's presence and make music again together.
Me too. And I hope to hear more about you too. I need to start a show like this so I can learn more about you.
Another time.
Another
we'd
time.
happy.
Yes.
Another time.
Yes.
Okay. Have a great night. And again,
Thank
thank you
you.
very
You
much.
too.
Laila Tov. Everyone,
Right.
be
Laila
strong,
Tov.
be healthy, happy, and stay safe.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Good night.